Brandon Robertson, welcome back to Clearwater Jazz Holidays, Young Lions Jazz Master Virtual Sessions. Happy Friday, Brandon.
Happy Friday, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Awesome. Brandon is back with us today for his topic, Know Your Worth, Negotiating the Gig, which I think is going to be a really great one to add to our growing resource in the studio. So participants are muted for the purposes of the session. If there are questions, please direct those questions to Brandon using the chat feature. I will moderate that. And we really appreciate everybody following along these sessions. They are all accessible at clearwaterjazz.com using the through the education and outreach area. After these live sessions, they get recorded and they get put into a resource we call the studio. All of the videos are archived by topic, and that resource is brought to you by Blue Water Wealth Management at Steward Partners and Duke Energy. And we also have the ability to, you also have the ability to listen to these sessions on the podcast, the Young Lions Jazz Master Virtual Sessions podcast, brought to you by Marine Max Clearwater. Both these resources are growing fast. We've done under 100 Young Lions segments since May, with many more scheduled into December, and we aim to continue these into 2021. We appreciate everybody's support. We hope you are finding good value in these, and Brandon has been a regular participant in them. We record these sessions, of course, for the purposes of Clearwater Jazz education and outreach. When you go to the studio or the podcast, you will find the following sessions from Brandon. Where do I begin as a professional musician? Breathe, relax, focus. Simple tools during performance. Raising the bar, preparing for performance. How to develop melodic bass lines, tempos and styles, how to develop endurance during a performance, thinking like a horn player from a bass perspective, how to capture big sound on bass, playing duo performances, creating new music composition and charts, accompanying a vocalist, part 1 and 2, practicing for 2 hours a day. And we're adding to this now today's Brandon topic on knowing your worth, negotiating the gig. Brandon is an Emmy-nominated music director, professional upright and electric bassist, composer, and music educator originally from Tampa. He completed his Bachelor of Arts in Music from Florida State University in 2009 and a Master of Music and Jazz Studies in the spring of 2016. Currently, he's the Director of Jazz Studies and Director of the FGCU Basketball Band at Florida Gulf Coast University in Fort Myers, Florida. In 2018, Brandon was nominated for an Emmy Award for Best Documentary for educational collegiate programs featuring the FGCU Jazz Ensemble. He's a prominent band leader. He's taken his band on multiple national tours. He's headlined at some great venues around the country, and he's also performed with a lot of really wonderful people, including the world-famous Count Basie Orchestra led by director Scotty Barnhart, vocalist Carmen Bradford, Jason Marsalis, Marcus Roberts, Marty Morell, Wycliffe Gordon, and the list goes on. Brandon has been a featured performer and band leader at various national jazz festivals, and not too long ago released his first album, and it's entitled Based on a True Story. Please listen to it, BASS''D, Based on a True Story. It is fantastic. That was released in the fall of 2019, reached all the way up to number 16 on the iTunes Top 200 release, and we are just so blessed to have Brandon as part of our education and outreach family. He also recently performed as a trio at one of our reimagined Clearwater Jazz Holiday events this year called the Wanderlust events. We have this rooftop experience that we do. It was such a beautiful night. Brandon opened it with his Brandon Robertson trio, and it was hot. And we were really excited to have him perform and look forward to many more with Brandon. So Brandon, with that, welcome back, my friend. The stage is all yours.
I have to go on.
Oh, I just muted you. Darn it. Hey, you need to unmute yourself.
There we
All
go.
right.
Hi. Okay, I'm here.
There you go.
I have to say one thing before I jump right into it. Steve, you are the best person to give introductions for us. Man, I just feel like I am like an A-list celebrity, which I'm probably rated like at a C minus, B plus, due to the whole status of social climb and all that stuff. But the way you hype my name up, oh my gosh, yeah, thank you so much.
We feel it, man. You are A-list to us in every respect, and you are 100% first class. We're happy to have you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. So, of course, to the Clearwater Education Outreach Program, thank you so much. To the Clearwater Jazz Holiday, the Tampa Bay Out Down in Jazz Society, please, thank you, guys. Thank y'all so much for continuing to do these wonderful virtual master classes. We need it. It's needed nowadays even more than ever, so I'm happy to contribute. So for today's topic, everyone, here's a topic that I felt in my heart that I really wanted to dive into for the younger musicians, not necessarily for intermediate or professional musicians. We still deal with this issue on a normal basis, but we have more experiences of knowing how to handle ourselves. But if you're someone who, let's say 18 years old, you finished high school, you're about to start college, or if you're not starting college, you're just jumping right into the music scene, and then you get in a situation where you're told one thing and at the end of the gig it's another. I have been there. So I'm going to share two stories with you. So the topic of today is how to negotiate. Know your worth when you're negotiating on a gig. When you're going to book an event. So when I was 18 years old, I was fresh out of high school. I was on my way up to Tallahassee to start at FSU, and I remember getting there. I was excited. I met all other students in the program, got to meet my teachers, and the very first thing I did was I went to a jam session. I mean, literally, the day I moved into my dorm, I went to the music building. I met the teacher. I was like, where's the jam sessions? Where do people go play? So they were like, they go to Waterworks. Or at this time, it was at the Warehouse in Tallahassee. So we go to the Warehouse. Boom, I'm there. So now I see all these musicians, and it's musicians from FAMU. There's musicians from Florida State. There's musicians from Tallahassee Community College. They're all there in one spot. So the house band consisted of older juniors and seniors that were in the program. Now they had a big jar sitting in front of the band. So I said that was the first time I'd ever seen that. Now I've done gigs in high school where you get tips, but you never saw the tip jar. You just, at the end of the night, they just gave me extra cash, and I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. I'm in high school. I don't care if you gave me $5. It's more than I ever had before, right? But this was a different situation. This was my lesson that I learned. The venue that they were playing at, the Warehouse, they had this big tip jar. And so the band would play for tips. They would feed them, give them food, and then they would play for tips. Now, to the students at the time that were in this house band, it didn't matter to them because they were getting money. They're getting paid to do music. So when you're a college student and you've never been paid to play music and you actually started to notice you can make money from doing this, that changes your whole perception. Everything changes. You're like, oh, this is game on. Like, I can not have to work a 9 to 5 and I can do music and make money and make it quicker. Oh yeah, done deal. You don't even have to convince me anymore. So the point of this story is, afterwards, I went up to the house band and went to the bass player and I said, hey man, you guys sound great. I said, I got a question for you. I noticed you guys have a big jar in front of the microphone here. What's that jar for? He's like, oh, that's how we make our money. So then I was like, wait a minute, they don't pay you? And he's like, oh, no. Some venues around here, they don't pay musicians. You play for tips. And I'm like, well, that doesn't sound lucrative. Like, what? Why would? So they don't pay you a flat fee? And they're like, nah. And then I'm like, you guys are cool with that? And they're like, well, I mean, we make a decent amount sometimes. Sometimes we don't make nothing. Sometimes we'll make a lot. It just depends on the crowd. And I never understood that as an 18-year-old because I was like, well, if I'm playing, I should be paid. Like, that's kind of like playing for free, right? Because if you don't make nothing, then you just pretty much play 4 hours for free. So I had to learn, and here's point number one to the younger musicians. You need to know where you stand as a musician. Where is your place? And what I mean by that is when you get hired to play in a band and you're that young, you can't go in there asking for $200, $300. You can't. Because you don't have the acquired skills nor the experiences to withstand and the endurance to withhold that long period of time, whatever that gig is. And most of the time when you're playing in restaurants, bars, little club, hole-in-the-wall clubs, you're playing for 3-4 hours. You're not playing for 2 or 3. You're playing for 3 to 4 hours because that is entertainment during their high prime time. Okay. So point number one is you need to know where you stand as a musician. So if you're not an individual, and I'm speaking to the younger musicians here, if you weren't an individual who was not already playing prior to you graduating high school, or if you weren't already gigging, or if you weren't already playing with seasoned musicians to where you've been taught how to do these things, you cannot go in there and just start demanding, oh, I want to get paid this and this and that and the third. Nah, you got to put in the time. So my first gig when I was 18 years old, I played at this place called Jasmine's Place. It was a restaurant in downtown Tallahassee. And the woman who owned this restaurant was best friends with Senator Bill Nelson. So at the time, Senator Bill Nelson had just became senator of, he had just moved into the up in Washington. And so she threw him this huge elaborate party at her restaurant because they're friends. So I got to meet him and his wife, his kids. I got to meet our governor at the Charlie Crist. He was there. It was a big deal. And I'm 18, so I'm like, wow, this is great. I'm going to make a lot of money because I see all these lobbyists in here, right? Everybody, if I had to ask you virtually, how much did Mr. Robertson make on that gig that night? I'm going to tell you. And I played for 4 hours. I watched people come in there and they were spending money on drinks. We saw it. Me and the other 3 musicians that were there. We were students in the jazz program. So the band leader goes up to the lady afterwards and says, hey, so how much did we make tonight? She's like, make? I'm not paying you guys. What do you mean? She's like, well, you guys agreed to play the gig. Yeah, in the hopes that we was going to get paid to play. She's like, well, no. I mean, I did you guys a service. I provided y'all a meal. You guys got to meet the senator. What are you complaining about? Now, this is where I learned as an 18-year-old, and I'm very naive, that people will take advantage of you if you don't know your business. If you don't know your business, they're going to take advantage of you. So at 18, I played for 4 hours straight. My hands are hurting like heck. I don't know what's going on. And then after the gig, I'm tired. They gave us a very cold meal. It was pasta. It wasn't even like it was steak and lobster like everybody else was eating, and then they don't pay me. So that was the first scenario. So I told you I had 2 situations that happened to me, right? That made me come to this topic. That was the first one. The first time I learned was that, I need to speak up for myself with the band leader, not necessarily with the owner, because if the band leader had taken care of their business and arranged that, they wouldn't have to come back and tell the band, y'all not getting paid. And I'm going to tell you as a young musician, if you run your own band, if you start your own group, pay your musicians. Pay your musicians. If that means you do not get paid that evening, you don't get paid. But do not put your band in a situation where you've been playing, you played a venue, a concert, whatever, and they don't pay you. You have to pay your band, and you're just going to take that L. That's a great band leader. And every band that I've been in, when I was in my younger days, every band that I was a part of, that situation happened, the band leader always paid us and they didn't get paid. And I learned that. That's what I learned from really good band leaders is no matter what the situation is, if the venue or something happens and they don't pay you all the money, whatever, you do not make a fuss about it. You deal with that. You and that club owner or that promoter will deal with that one-on-one. But that does not include your bandmates. So you need to make sure that you pay your band. All right. And in that situation, my band leader didn't pay us. So therefore, none of us worked with that person again, because we were just like, if I get on a gig with you again, I'm going to expect not to get paid, and you won't speak up on us. So rule number one, make sure you establish right off the bat, what is it that the band is being compensated? And you need to have something in writing. Do not have a verbal agreement. You get an email, you say, okay, I will email you our information, and then you put in that email, and then and we are agreeing on these terms of this price. And if that person says yes, you have a legal binding contract in your possession that you can hold. Now, going to civil court to sue somebody over $50 is, you got to pick and choose your battles. But if you're dealing with $600 or $700 for the band, that's a lot of money. Okay, so when you have something legally binding, an email, it doesn't have to be a formal contract. Some venues might make you fill out a formal contract that they established. But if you have an email, that is a legally binding contract. Okay, so rule number one is you make sure you have something in writing, establish whatever the agreement is. Okay, that's what my rookie mistake learned, and that's also what I learned about that band that played at the warehouse, how they were playing for tips and they weren't being paid. So I had to know that in order for me to get paid, I have to do my homework. So you need to be good on your instrument. You can't be mediocre. No one's going to pay you $500 and you sound like $50. It's not going to happen. That's invaluable. That is a loss on both ends, right? So make sure that whatever you tell somebody you can do, you can actually do that. So if you're asking for the venue to pay you $1,000 for a quartet, right? So if you are a quintet, for instance, so you guys get two apiece, right? And you send them a video, and the video has poor quality. It doesn't look professional. The band sounds okay. You really think that venue is going to consider paying you what you're asking them? No. Okay? You don't want to do that. So here's the second scenario. Now, my second scenario, at this time, I had already graduated undergrad. I'm done. I'm out of school. I'm actually now in a professional trio. And I remember we were playing at the, what's that club? Oh, the Jazz Bistro in St. Louis. And I remember we played there, and the booking promoter, or the booking promoter, the booking agent, when we got there, they said, oh, well, we had some arrangements changed. It's still the same, but we're going to do a door deal. And I was like, door deal? We agreed on a flat fee because we're a touring band, so we're just passing through. So when you're touring, everybody, and this is another thing that I don't want to jump all over the place, but when you're a touring musician, it is best that you ask for a flat fee rather than a door deal, because you do not know the area. You don't know the circumstances of that particular venue. You don't know the traction that they bring in for their venue. If their establishment that already has a credible reputation that you don't need to promote as much because they're going to have people come in regardless, or is it the other way around where you have to do a lot of promoting to bring people in, which is why a lot of venues go to door deals, because if they go to a door deal, they're not necessarily losing much of money because they're getting a percentage, versus if you ask for a flat fee, they're losing money if nobody shows up because they still got to pay you. So understand, for my younger musicians, you got to understand the difference between a door deal and when you ask for a flat fee. If they offer you a door deal, the best scenarios I've been in was a 70-30 situation. 70 to the artist, 30 to the venue. Okay? And I have been in situations where venues have agreed to that because that venue already has an established credibility in the community. So they know that if I give the artist 70%, I'm still will make back sales from beverages, from food, whatever the case, ticket sales. Some venues will make you add in merch a merch deal. So what that encompasses, they'll give you a 70-30 deal, but then they'll take maybe like 2% of your merchant sales. Some venues will do that to kind of offset, if they know that, well, this particular night is kind of slow. So we'll maybe add like a 2% charge on their merch sales, which when I did the Jacksonville Jazz Festival, that's exactly what they did. They took 3% off top of my merch sales, which wasn't a lot, but that they got to get their cut, but they paid me a full 100%. They gave me a flat fee. So I was okay with them taking a little percentage. I wasn't trying to be greedy because they gave me the amount that I asked for. So when you're starting to grow, and when you're starting to build your credibility amongst the community, it's always best that you have a general template contract, which will just state, will have your name, your general information, name, address, telephone number, email address, and then at the very bottom, it's like kind of like an invoice or a contract with an invoice. You'll just state the venue, you will state the purpose of what you're doing, and then you'll have the amount, and then you send that off. And most of the time, the venues that I've worked with, I'll send them an invoice, and that way they'll have record of their taxes, whatever, how much they paid out. I have a record from my end, for my tax purposes, for my business. And so we have something legally written in contract that states like what is being paid out. And it's also, keep in mind too, for my younger musicians, if you're going to start to book on your own, you need to research the venue. So what I do is, if there's a venue that I'm interested in booking, I will go and look at the artist, the type of artist that they book. That's important to know, because not to say, not try to undercut yourself or play yourself down, but if I want to go to the Blue Note, for instance, in New York, and I see that, and I'm going to speak from bass players because I'm a bass player. If I saw that they booked Ben Williams, Christian McBride, and Sean Moffett, all three back to back, there's no way I'm going to sit there and try to book that place. Not that I don't think I can, but I look at those three artists, they'll sell out. Easy. Those three will sell out without even having to try, right? If I'm somebody that they don't know who I am, and then I try to book and say, well, I want to get a 2-nighter there, they're going to be like, well, who are you? And then they look up your information, and if they see that okay, this person has done a lot, they're doing well, but no, I don't know who they are, they're going to factor that in. So when you're trying to go and book a venue at a club that has only national artists, like if you don't see them book no name people, when I say no name, I'm talking about people in the industry that the general public isn't familiar with right off the bat. Like if I could tell the average person here at my university, I'll ask them, do you know who Christian McBride is? Most of them will say yes. They won't necessarily know all that he does, but they know his name. So that's what I mean. Like if you say their name, you're like, oh yeah. So if a venue, if you try to book a date at a venue where you don't see a lot of, up and coming artists, it's going to be very hard. So when you're going to negotiate, you want to make sure that you have the product to back it up. So if you're going to ask for 1,000, you got to make sure you have CDs. You got to make sure you have a website. You got to make sure you have media. You got to have something that the venue can promote and push out to the public so to gain their interest. Okay. So I kind of like said a lot of things, but my main general point behind all this is three points. I'll give you 3 points. Point number 1, you need to know who you are as a musician. You need to know what kind of musician you are. Okay, that, and as a person, because if you yourself aren't convincing of who you are as a person, you for sure cannot convince a venue to book you and make them buy into what you do. So you have to be very assertive and comfortable who you are as a person. Number 2, you cannot be afraid to ask what you want. The worst they can tell you is no. That's what I had to learn over time as I got older is, okay, I can ask. I can't be afraid to ask, because when I talk on the phone with a booking person, if they hear hesitation in my voice, if they hear any kind of uncertainty, it makes them worry. It's like, well, if this person doesn't even sound convincing of themselves, so why am I going to buy into it? So you have to make sure that you know whatever you're asking for, that value, you better be able to produce that. And lastly, if you're going to if you're going to do any type of negotiation, research the venue. Know what kind of venue brings in know what kind of artists that the venues bring in. You know, you want to know, okay, they have a mixture of national artists and regional artists, which means that if I'm good enough and they dig my sound, they'll actually give me a shot. Okay. I remember the first time I got to play at the Jazz Standard. I didn't even think I'd ever have a chance playing in a place like that. But I sent them my information. They reviewed it. They seen the people, the acolytes. They seen the folks who I've gigged with. And they're like, okay, well, he clearly has made something of something. And they gave me 2 nights. I was shocked. I was like, wow. But it also came with me knowing the kind of person I am. So when I was on the phone with the booking person, I was talking to them like I had already been out for like 20, 30 years. Like I wasn't lying or hyping myself up, like falsifying anything, but I was very convincing enough to tell this person, like, I am a good bass player. I know I can bring people out. I have plenty of friends in New York. Give me the chance. I'm like, okay. And that was that. So you have to speak it into existence when you're on the phone with them. You cannot sound as though that you're someone who's like, well, I want you to please give me. No, you're going to give me a chance. Like I can offer it. That's how I am now. And most of the time they'll say, well, Brandon, we like your stuff, but I'll say, okay, well, thank you. I'll keep it moving. It's not the end of the world. So don't be afraid to fail, because it's all good. Okay. It's all good. And you have to, when you do speak to a venue about booking, you have to already know what it is that you want out of it. So you got to already have a number in your head. So for those of you who don't know what that is, here's a standard. Every musician should at least at standard. Now that's why I said some people might feel indifferent, but on average, $50 per person. That is like the minimum. When I say minimum, bare minimum. I'm talking about just strip everything. Bare minimum. Okay. That's for like local gigs, like restaurants, bars, whatever. But when you're doing like private events or like concerts or a venue, on average, $150 a person. I don't go lower than $150. Anything lower than that, I don't even take it. I don't care if the offer sounds good and we'll do this and that. No, because I know the kind of musicians I'm going to have in my band. I know the kind of musicians that they are, what kind of men and women that they are, and what they can offer, and what we're going to bring, and how we going to tear the roof down. I know this. I already know it before I even call them. So you have to explain that. You have to not be afraid to talk about that. Okay. So overall, the whole point of this session is for you to know who you are as a person. If you're going to ask for X amount of dollars, you need to make sure that you can provide that kind of music. Like I tell venues, oh, I don't want to pay $200. Well, then you can pay for a $50 musician. You're going to get $50 worth of music. Or you can pay this $200 and you're going to get $200 and some. It's your choice. I'm not losing anything about it. Only thing I might lose is not having a gig, and that's okay. Okay? So you can't be afraid. Sometimes if you don't have to play for a long time, that's good. That's okay. But trust me, when you start playing those gigs that you want to play, people are going to notice that, and they're going to follow that reputation. So it'll be much easier for you down the road when you want to play at bigger venues, because you have the reputation already. Okay? And that's my final thought on that, man. I hope you all take that information and really hone in on it.
That's great. Thank you so much, Brandon. I got a question for you. Maybe you can give a little bit, touch on for young musicians, either in high school or in college, that are beginning to promote themselves. Mm-hmm. Could you give them some feedback about the tools that you have used or are using to do that? Some things that are are low cost, inexpensive ways for them to promote themselves effectively to promoters and venues, and maybe touch on social media, websites, electronic press kits, and that type of thing.
Yeah. So what I've done in the past. So back in the day, when before the digital era came about, when you wanted to book a highly profile venue, you'd have to send a hard copy of a press kit. It wasn't an electric press kit; it was a physical press kit. It was a one sheet that had your picture. It had a brief description, and then it had contact information, and you would usually include a business card and a demo CD that you usually would never get back. They'll never send it back to you. So you will mail it off. You would actually have to go to the post office and mail that joker off to the venue, and then you would just pray that they call you. So you would go, months go by, you don't hear nothing. Well, I guess that was it. So back in the day, you had these electric press kits. Now, what I used to do is I would create these one sheets. I would have a friend of mine take a really nice picture of me, and then I'll create this one sheet. The one sheet is this: I have a picture, then I have a paragraph just describing who I am. My name is Brandon Robertson. I'm a bass player from Tampa Bay, Florida. I completed my education studies at Florida State University in the jazz program. I offer various style. I offer private lessons. I'm available for private lessons, weddings, private functions, social events, master classes, clinicians, etc., etc. And then at the very bottom, contact information. I did not at the time have a website, and social media was still trying to figure it out. So Facebook was starting to become a thing. Instagram wasn't even around yet. Twitter wasn't around yet either. I think it was just Facebook. So it took me a long time to kind of build an audience and figure out how social media works. But one of the things that was readily available is Adobe Spark. That's been around for a minute. And what I did was, once I discovered how to make an electronic press kit, I created one of those, and that's what I would send out to the venues that I was trying to book. So kind of to go backwards a little bit, I like I stated just a second ago, I didn't have a website. So what I did, Wix.com actually has, or WordPress.com actually has free templates that you can use. And I've seen people use WordPress kind of as a temporary website that they just put information up, like videos, text about who they are, pictures, etc. So you can use WordPress.com or Wix.com, which is they actually have a free web service. You can pay for the you would have to pay for the domain, but they actually have, I think, up to 20 gigabytes like you can use for free. And so if you're just somebody starting off, all you need is like a nice picture, a nice little paragraph, and then just some links that can send people to your music. Okay. With the electronic, I don't know, would I be able to share my, I know we said we wouldn't share the screen, but I don't know if I would be able to do that, to show them my electronic press kit. Would I be able to do that?
Yep, you can share it.
Okay, let me, actually, it won't take me long to pull this up, but what I'm going to do, everybody, I'm going to pull up my electronic press kit, so that way you all can, yep, here we go, right here. And Robertson music. All right, because I want you all to know how to properly do this. This is very important. Okay, here we go. Media and electronic press kit. Boom. Okay, so I'm going to, it's loading up now. Okay, and I'm going to share my screen here. And where is it? Right here. Okay, so for those who are watching this right now, this is what an electronic press kit would look like. On the very first page, you want a nice picture or background picture. I like to use pictures in my background. Some folks just like to have a white screen or a black screen. It's your preference, but it has my name, and at the very bottom here it states who I am. So you want to make sure that when you send this off to folks, you need to let them know who you are. So I am a bassist. I was nominated for an Emmy. I'm a music educator, and I'm also a composer. So it tells them right off the bat, like, who am I? Who is Brandon Robertson? Okay. So if you scroll down, so now I have a biography section. So the next section, you want to create a biography. You want to let people know who you are and just include all the information that's needed, you know, for your bio. Some people like to have long gated bios and this and like that. My bio is just straight to the point. It just tells you exactly all the information you need to know. Okay. So that's what I did for that page. This is very important. And this is to all the young musicians, any musicians. Testimonials. If you really want to get inside of a venue, get testimonies from people. So as you see here, I have a testimony directly from Mr. Scotty Barnhart, who's the director of the Count Basie Orchestra. When I spent time playing with him, that helped. You have no idea how much that quote has helped me get gigs, because people see that and they're like, wait, you play with the Basie Orchestra? So right off the bat, they don't have to question me, because they're like, well, if you played in the Count Basie Orchestra, there's nothing for us to say. we're good, right? So make sure you add testimonies. As you see here, I have testimonies from very prominent musicians. It's always important to get testimonies from prominent musicians, and also from previous venues you might have performed at, or private events, clubs, restaurants, whatever. You just want to get testimonies so people can vouch for you, okay? Then the next part is my media section. I had friends record some of my shows. So, you know, if you have a nice garage, you know, that's clean inside, you want to record your band or your group, or if you're at school and you want to record in one of the rooms or the rehearsal halls or the practice room, get you a nice video, get you maybe 2 or 3 videos. You know, very nice quality. The new iPhones all have they have 4K ability, so you can use that. That is free. It's free. You don't have to pay a professional. Use your iPhone 11, okay? Scrolling. Then I also have high-res pictures. You want them to have a section that they can download pictures so they can promote you. So if they do book you, you actually have pictures that they can pull from. So when I do stuff with the Clearwater Jazz Foundation, I always, you know, they have a lot of pictures that they can just pull from, and they can say, hey, you know, we like this picture. So every poster or flyer they use is always a different photo of me. So you want to give them a multitude of different pictures, okay? So this is stuff about my album. So if you have a CD or if you have a project, you want to make a section with that. You want to have a tab where if they clicked on it, it'll take them to your project. And then you might want to have you want to have featured tracks. So maybe these are songs on your project that you really want to highlight and you want to showcase to them. You want them to check it out. So make sure you highlight that, okay? And then give a very brief description about your project, etc. So in my case, I also added any promotional deals where I was featured on the radios, I was featured on different charts, iTunes, Deezer, I was featured in different magazines, etc., okay? And then keep going. This is another review of my project. So if you have a project already listed and you have someone who can review it for you, you want to make sure you add that in your electronic press kit. That always helps. Anything that anyone can vouch for you on is helpful. Okay, and then lastly, I have a picture here with me when I was with the Count Basie Orchestra, and I have the contact information. So I have my website. Make sure you add your email address. Make sure you add a telephone number. And then if you have your social media handles, you want to include that as well. So I have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. All right, and that's pretty much what an electronic press kit looks like, okay? And all you have to do is put that together. It's just in a link. You just email them the link. You send a very short email introducing yourself, and you want to say, I'm inquiring these dates. Add the dates that you want to book in bold on these days, and then you say, if these dates aren't available, would you happen to have these dates available? Give them 2 sets of dates. That is very helpful. If you give them 2 sets of dates, because if they want to book you, they have something else to work with. If you just give them 1 date and they come back and say, well, we can't offer that date, now you probably won't get the gig, because it's like, oh, well, I didn't think about it. So just make sure you offer them multiple dates, okay? And then you include in that email, if you would like, here is information on my behalf. Here's my electronic press kit. Please click on the link below. They click on it. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out. Here's my number. Have a great day. That's it. The email should be super long. It shouldn't be like, oh, back in 2000. We don't care about it. They don't. I promise you. I used to write like that, and they don't care. They don't care. So just write a very short email, to the point. Social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok. All of that is free. Use it to your advantage. The best 2 platforms that I use, that I get the heaviest traffic on, is Facebook and Instagram. Okay. Once this is the best way I could tell the younger musicians, since I'm speaking to younger musicians, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok seem to be the 3 most popular ones right now that this generation is like infused in, right? So what you can do is you can create these reels, what I like to call teaser reels. And so you create a teaser reel of somebody filming you playing with your band. And with a reel, you can stop it at any time and add on to it. So you create, and I've been seeing a lot of young musicians nowadays use these reels on Instagram to promote themselves. So they'll say, it'll be like a 20-second reel, and then at the bottom it'll say, oh, new single coming out on Friday. Check back in at 9 o'clock on Friday to get a exclusive link to the single. And so then now you're building traffic. You got people, resharing your information on their stories and things like that. So please take advantage of those entities. Another great entity that I just recently discovered. Oh man, I gotta remember it. Ooh, don't go blank. Twitch. I just discovered Twitch, and Twitch is actually really hip, because what Twitch does, it actually infuses all those other social medias into one. So when you go live on Twitch, you're actually live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So you're reaching a multitude of audiences. I didn't know that. I tried it for the first time the other day, and at one point I was reaching up to 6,000-7,000 people at one time. And I was like, good Lord, this is awesome. So I was just playing my bass, and people were chiming in. And then the next day I started seeing more people following me on Instagram. It was like I went from maybe 5 new followers to 30. It like jumped overnight. I was like, wow. So Twitch is another free platform that is starting to catch the wave, and I would use that as well. But social media is the best platform to use for any kind of free advertising. Also, all local cities have free event pages like that you can add your event to. I know in Tampa, I forget the one that's in Tampa, but there was a section, I think, through the Tampa Tribune, like a advertising section, like where you could just add on to a calendar. In Orlando, they have the same deal in Orlando where you could add on to the calendar. Down here where I'm at in Fort Myers, we have the Fort Myers Jazz and Blues page, where you can go on and just add your event onto their page, and then they promote it for you. So a lot of times, some of these free online event pages, they'll promote for you for free. You just put the information up. It just takes 5 minutes. Just upload it and boom, you move on. So that's another entity that you can use as well. But the best thing is social media, hands down.
That's great, Brandon. Thanks for touching on that so much. I think that I thought it was really cool. You were also able to show what tools you are using. So I appreciate you sharing that specifically. And for your time today. This was a really great talk and great session. We're looking forward to having you back with us. And for those folks that are in attendance today and are still inspired to stick with these sessions, we've got Ella and the Bossa Beat returning with us at 2 o'clock for a Brazilian Rhythms session part 2. They were really, really great the first time. Ella Borges and her father, Magrus Borges. And then on Monday, we have the beginning of Jeremy Carter's Conversation With series. Monday's Sam Dillon, Tuesday's Joel Fromm, and Wednesday's Jeff Vidal, which I think are going to be really fantastic. And Austin Vickery's also back with us Monday on the What Do I Love About series. He's doing a session on Chris Potter. Ooh. And just at clearwaterjazz.com, on the education and outreach page, you'll be able to see upcoming schedule, and it lists all these upcoming sessions, the Zoom links to join, and then after they get archived, like I was saying at the beginning, and many times guest musicians and educators will create session materials or recommended listening Spotify links off our Spotify channel, and it really adds to the session when that happens. There's a lot of great resources available at no cost, brought to you by the Clearwater Jazz Holiday Foundation and our supporters. So on behalf of all of those folks and us, we thank you for following along with these sessions. We thank Brandon for being a special part of them. Stay safe out there, everybody. Keep playing, keep being creative, keep listening, and we will see you back real soon.
All right, guys, take care. Have a good one.
See you, Brandon.